Welcome back. It's time now for Frequently Asked Questions, FAQs, in which we take a deep dive into a subject in or around the news. Now, we're told endlessly that livestock farming is a huge contributor to global warming and environmental damage. But is this true? And can farmers cement the popularity of their products, meat and dairy in particular, with more sustainable methods so that we can still enjoy a burger at a summer barbecue and a splash of full-fat milk in our morning brew? Well, the team at dairy giant Arla, a major dairy company, think that they have the answer. I'm delighted to welcome Felicity Callaghan from Arla and actual farmer Lucy Muir. Folks, welcome to the show. Great to have you on the programme.
Good evening.
Felicity, Arla look like they have a fantastic solution for guilt-free milk that has a minimal environmental impact.
So Arla farmers are working very hard to produce milk with as few emissions as possible. And that's one of the things we've tried to share in this report that we've launched. So it takes the carbon footprint of almost 2,000 Arla farmers, and it looks at where the emissions are coming from and what farmers are actually doing already to start reducing those.
I think it's fantastic. Now, how have you managed to make the production of milk, for example, so efficient? What exactly are your farmers doing?
I think one of the things the report tells us is that every farmer is doing it a little bit differently, the way they farm, and they're doing that based on the land around them, the number of cows they've got, the size of the land that they farm. So there's no real one way to farm sustainably. What it really comes down to is how they're measuring and balancing the inputs and outputs that they're doing. That comes down to everything from the way they grow the crops that are fed to the cow, the type of fertilizer they use, their use of infrastructure, and going forward, it'll be some of the new emerging technology that we're trialling as well.
Well, yes, and I'm delighted to have you with us as well, Lucy. I think it's a bit of a late night for a farmer, isn't it? 25 to 11?
It is a bit, it is. We're not normally in bed by now, ready for the early mornings.
Well, look, I'm very honoured that you've stayed up for us. Roughly how many cows do you have? Do you even know?
Yes, though we know exactly how many we've got across the two farms that we have. We've got 700 cows milking across 900 acres, producing lots of fantastic milk for your breakfast cereals and other great products.
I think that's remarkable. And have you sort of changed your approach in how to farm since, there's been greater concern around the potential impact of farming on the environment?
I mean, obviously, cow welfare and the environment has always been at the forefront of our farming techniques. That's always been there. But what's been fantastic since we put this data into the report that Arla have produced, we can now see we've got a great starting point. We can look at our carbon footprint currently and where we can take it going forward, how much better we can make it, how we can improve the things we're doing on farm to reduce that carbon footprint even further.
Yes, I mean, what would you say to those that think having milk is actually bad for the environment? Possibly people guilty for drinking milk. Should they be?
No, not at all. Milk is a fantastic product that we're producing sustainably here in the UK. It's got fantastic nutritional benefits. It's cheap. It's readily available to the consumer, and by buying our products and supporting the dairy industry here in the UK, we can then further invest in the environmental benefits we're bringing about on farm.
Yes, and of course the point is that your cows, 700, that's a remarkable number. They do keep you busy, don't they? They're grazing on grass for most of the year.
They are. So what's fantastic, for me on my farm, we've got our cows graze for 9 months of the year. The 70% of the grass that our milk that we produce is from grass that we've grown on our farm. So by reducing the inputs that we're having to buy in to feed our cows, we're keeping our carbon footprint down in that way.
And of course, we do get the value out of the cow, don't we? Because it's not just milk, but butter, cheese, yogurt, and of course the rest of the cow gets eaten at some point as well, and even the skin is used for leather.
Yes, nothing's wasted, but what we're really proud of is the longevity of our cows. So they lead long and happy lives here, producing fantastic milk for consumers to drink.
Is it getting harder, though, Lucy, to actually operate as a farmer in this environment where there is so much concern about the carbon footprint of agriculture? And I mean, have you been criticised? Do you feel embattled by the current media climate around especially meat production and dairy?
We know that we've got a fantastic climate here in the UK. We've got brilliant soil that we can grow fantastic crops, not just grass, but other crops to feed our animals and produce products that are sustainable and have many environmental benefits as well. You know, we're here to look after the environment.
This is quite an important, very serious question. Do any of the cows have names?
Yes, they do. They do. We have quite a few cows with names, all named by our three children. That go along the lines of Milky Bar, Milky Way, and including Annie the Ayrshire as well.
There's clearly a theme emerging. Felicity, this will be a wider strategic goal of Arla to actually have a sustainable future for dairy farming. Do you think that those that sort of try to characterise livestock as being absolutely appalling for the environment as being a problem in your industry?
So I think in agriculture, you know, we're working with live animals and we're working with the land around us. So in any food production, there are going to be emissions that are created. What's really important, I think, about the report we've produced is that we share some of the learnings. Everything that Arla's doing is being driven by data. All our targets are science-based targets. The first big one being to reduce our emissions by 30% on farm per kilogram of milk by 2030. So we're really being driven by the science that sits behind this. And the more we can share and learn from each other, the faster and the better we'll be able to go as an industry. But I think we're all in this journey together, aren't we? We all have to play our part, no matter what industry you're in or company that you work for. And I think the results that have come from the Arla farmers, who obviously own Arla as a cooperative, are phenomenal, and showing that they're already producing milk with less than half the average emissions of milk produced globally.
Well, I'm a very big fan of the lacto-free range. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah.
But final question to all of you briefly. What is your preferred milk in your tea or coffee? Skimmed, semi-skimmed or full fat? First of all, let me ask you, Felicity.
I go for the full fat version. It's actually only 3.4% fat. So, full fat is slightly misleading in the title.
Yeah, definitely. Well, for me, the richer, the better. How about you, Lucy? How do you have your tea? What kind of milk do you have?
Always full fat here as well.
Quality. Look at that. I'm impressed. You know, I've got honestly giving semi-skimmed people short shrift, but of course, each to their own. Thank you so much for joining us.